Welcome back to Tandler Creek Farm and the Tandler's Trying Hard YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about how much I spent starting my goat herd in 2026. So this is just the bare bones of what I spent. Like, there's no frills included in this number, like getting a American Boar Goat Association membership and all that stuff that I personally think you don't need to necessarily have goats on your property. And I'm just going to show you the financial breakdown of what it takes to start a herd that looks like mine, which was 2 adults, 2 adult does, and 2 doelings, or little baby girl goats. I have my numbers. So you can see I spent, like, this is like kind of a substantial item list, but this is for everything that goes on at our farm. So everything for our farm stand setup, our bees, the additional goats that we got. We're just going to pull out a few things that I think are necessary. First of all, you need goats, the goats themselves, and you have 2 different options you can go with this. There's a million different breeds out there, and we'll do a video later on like why I picked boar goats, but you can look at commercial goats or registered goats. So regardless of breed, commercial versus registered is a consistent theme. And registered goats are gonna be more expensive than commercial goats. Commercial goats are more designed to kind of be raised on a property and then sent off for meat. Whereas registered goats, like, more likely they're gonna be part of a breeding program. So I think that's important. I got registered goats and I paid $1,500 for the first 4 that I got. So that was $500 for each of the 2 adult does and then $250 per kid. Isn't that right? Yeah, you worth it. You worth every penny. And then as far as the fencing setup, I have a pretty peculiar fencing setup because my goats are clearing brush in the woods because I'm trying to create some pasture out of my property. Right now we're using the Starkline electric netting. So I originally got 1 roll of poultry netting with the solar charge setup, and that was $494 for that complete starter kit. And that's 164 feet of fencing. So I don't know how many square feet that is because I kind of had it set up in like a weird circle, but the roll of poultry netting was 164 feet long. And the reason why I got poultry netting, this is going to come up in another video too, is because these baby goats were just a week old at the time, and the sheep and goat netting has some bigger gaps, which is good because it's right sized for that animal, and it's a little bit cheaper because it's obviously less material if the gaps are bigger, but the babies can get out. So, and normally they stay pretty close to mom, so like maybe they'll get out, maybe they won't, but I just went ahead and started with the poultry netting just because I had a million other things to worry about, and the last thing I wanted to worry about was like how rambunctious or adventurous my baby goats are gonna be. So I went with kind of a higher end, more expensive Starkline fencing, and so it was $500 to get started, but then buying subsequent rolls is not as expensive, and then you really don't need to get another charging system, you know, until you've got like 3 or 4 of them connected. So you can keep that in mind if you're going the Starkline route. And I'm not sponsored by Starkline yet, you know. Maybe they will see this and sponsor me. But, and then the Boar Goat membership or the Nubian membership or whatever, if you're getting registered goats, do you need a membership into those associations? Bottom line, absolutely not. No, you don't. What it does is, if you're gonna become a breeder, or you're gonna start a breeding program, or you're gonna show animals, it's good to get a membership. But just to have animals on the property, even to get them registered, you don't need a membership just to get them registered. You'll pay a little bit more for each registration, but you don't need the membership. The membership makes registering goats cheaper over time. So if you're gonna become a breeder, you know, you're gonna be registering a lot of goats, so it does make it cheaper over time. And if you go to show the animals, that really helps. And then we talked about like why some goats are so cheap. Like you can get them for you know, 40 bucks or 70 bucks on Facebook Marketplace versus like my goats that are about $500 each. That's just commercial versus registered, and then it comes down to the breed. So like boar goats, they're a bigger animal. There's just more to them. Dairy goats, when they have that increased utility, that increased value, you know, if you're paying for like a high-end, good genetics dairy goat that's going to produce quite a bit, like you get what you pay for when it comes to these animals. If you're getting like a backyard goat that, you know, they got bred and had some kids and the owners just don't need that many goats, so they're selling them on Facebook Marketplace, like you can get goats for really cheap. Like keep in mind, like parasite resistance, disease resistance, like all that stuff is up in the air because not very much is known about their genetics. And again, it's like a haircut. You get what you pay for. How much did I spend? So we covered $1,500 on goats, $494 on fencing. My shelter, I DIY'd. You can see that is DIY, and then that is an old chicken run that I threw a Harbor Freight tarp over when I got more goats, but we started with this one. And so that was about $150 in materials. And then sweet feed and minerals. I did get sweet feed because one of my goats, Mama back there, was nursing, or she still is, but I got some sweet feed just to kind of help her out, especially with the transition, and it works really well. Sweet feed is great when you need to get them to like come to a certain area, or you want to get them up on the stand to do their hooves or something like that. It's just nice to have around. I don't put sweet feed out for them because I want them clearing my brush. I don't want them getting picky on me. But yeah, so the sweet feed and the minerals and the baking soda and all this stuff that you've heard about with goats before, about 38 bucks. Medical supplies, $172, and I didn't get these right away, but I did get them eventually, and I think you should have them right away. So this is just like drenching syringes, ivermectin, dewormer, like these sorts of things. That comes out to about $172, and I do have a bloat tool now, but and then my hay feeder was $80 on Facebook Marketplace. I'll show it to you. It's just an IBC tote container that they sawzalled some of the cage and bent it in. So I got that off of Facebook Marketplace for 80 bucks. The IBC tote containers, not modified, cost about 60 bucks on Facebook Marketplace. So I was like, oh, I'll pay an extra 20 bucks and not have to do any work because I already had a lot going on. So that was a great purchase. I will probably be getting another one of those. The only thing I would do differently is put it on some sort of skid system so that it's a little bit easier to pull around, because that plastic pallet gets caught in the grass when you're trying to drag it. And I don't have like a four-wheeler or anything, so I do it all like manually. And then hay. The hay that I needed to get started was 25 bucks. So I pay 5 bucks for a square bale of hay. And with my 4 goats, that square bale of hay lasted me like nearly a month, you know, because it was only 2 adult does eating on it. The 2 babies, they were nibbling on it, but they're not eating a substantial amount. Now with 4 adult does, I go through one of those bales every 2 to 3 days. So like our hay consumption has increased, but you don't need a lot to get that starter amount of hay. So in total, I spent what's $23.79 plus 80? Because I forgot the $2,400 and wait, no, $2,459 was what I spent to start a registered boar goat herd on my property. And it sounds like a lot, but you know, these are expenses we have registered as a farm with the state of North Carolina. Still waiting on the paperwork to come back. But that gives us, we're a conditional farm, so it gives us, you know, 3 years to prove that we can make $10,000 in revenue from our farm every year. But in the meantime and in between time, that's why I keep track of these expenses, because those are tax write-offs later on. Because I do not play about my husband's money, or mine for that matter. But yeah, so about $2,500 is what it takes to get started having goats. And I am really interested to hear, you know, $2,500 and $1,500 of that, like almost half of that, over half, was just in the goats themselves. So if you do get less expensive goats, you know, the first $1,500 can be more expensive or less expensive depending on the animal that you're getting, but the other $1,000, you know, of equipment is fairly standard. I think that'll be standard across any small herd of goats. So $1,000 plus however much you want to spend on the animals themselves is what you're looking to spend. So let me know in the comments if you spent way more or way less, or if you were surprised by like how much it costs or doesn't cost to own goats. Things that I would have changed or like done differently. I would have gotten the vet supplies like right away. Unfortunately, you just don't know what you don't know. But you know, I would have probably done less research on a shelter because it's a very simple A-frame with a tarp on it. Like, we didn't need to overthink that. And done more research on like medically how to take care of goats. My recommendation is like, don't be afraid to build the plane in flight. Like when I first got my goats, I did not have fencing. Okay. They had little dog collars on, and they were on a tether attached to a tire with a rim on it that they couldn't pull around in an open area kind of away from the trees. Like they could get to the trees if they were kind of on the full length of the tether, but they didn't have enough where they could wrap themselves up. And that's how they lived for a couple days until my fencing came in, because it was still being shipped. It took longer to ship than I thought. But yeah, like it's a goat. People all over the world, like in third world countries and everywhere else, have had goats since goats became an animal. Like, you don't have to necessarily overthink it. You can build the plane in flight. The one risk there is that you might lose an animal. And we did lose an animal, and I will talk about that in the next video. But starting small helps you kind of adjust your systems and figure out what works for you on your property. So fencing that works for me, where I'm at, might not work for you. You might have to go with the panel fencing and the T-post, you know, who knows. But it took a lot of investment to start a herd of registered boar goats. But like I said, when it comes to livestock, you get what you pay for. And you know, one thing that you could do is you could start with commercial, like Facebook Marketplace goats, until you kind of build up your systems and you're like, okay, these are what I want the paddocks to look like. This is the shelter area. These are the supplies I need. That way, when you do learn these hard lessons that every farmer has to learn, you're not losing an expensive animal. You know, I mean, it sucks. Like, loss is loss. It all sucks. But you're not throwing money down the drain, learning some hard lessons. You know, the hard lesson that you learn might be Facebook Marketplace goats aren't parasite resistant. I don't know. Let me know if you kind of like these deep dives, and please like and subscribe to the Tandlers Trying Hard YouTube channel. Follow us, Tandler Creek Farm, on Instagram. I post shorts every day, and I'm trying to get better about posting these long form videos. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you later.